Hello and welcome everybody. My name is Martina Ścibiorek and this is a series of interviews from Science Bridge. Today we are gonna chat with Yumna Aysen, who is a founder of Oh Yes, It's Yumi. She's a success coach, motivational speaker, mentor, leadership coach, as well as president of EY Toastmaster Club. Welcome, Yumi.
Thank you so much, Martina, for having me here. I'm so honored for this opportunity for you to interview me.
No, it's absolute pleasure. Since we've known each other for some time now, and you've been my mentor, and also you're now the president of our Toastmaster Club.
Yeah, I am. And I think it's so surreal just to think that I am the president of that club. And I feel so honored that I get to mentor you because, I mean, you've taught me so much, not only about yourself, but about me, and also introduced me more to the world of science. I do believe so.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm glad I did. I managed to teach you something because, as I'm saying, you've been mentoring me. So you've been giving me some tips and tricks on public speaking. And as I just introduced you, you are the motivational speaker. So is that a part of your coaching?
Yes. So it's funny because it actually started with me being a motivational speaker. That's how it transformed into me becoming a success coach, or as people like to call it, a business coach or life coach, because I really had a passion for speaking about everything and anything inspirational, or that could just, make a touch of a salt of difference in someone's life.
No, that sounds wonderful. So basically, your idea of coaching is getting people into action and keeping them motivated for their goals.
Yes, most definitely. I'm very much focused on, taking that action, because I'm of the belief that knowledge is potential power, with the emphasis on potential. Because it's all great and dandy, having all of that knowledge, but if you're not really able to put it into action, it doesn't really serve much use. So we focus a lot on taking that action, and I'm here to hold my clients' hand along the way to really own their action-taking steps that they do.
So are you also accountability partner?
Yes, most definitely. I completely believe in accountability, and not just accountability to me as your coach, but most importantly, accountability for yourself is just so important.
No, that's true. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. We fail sometimes in our own goals just because we don't keep ourselves accountable to us. And I think that's a lot of a problem when it comes to studying sometimes.
Yes, that's so true. And I think one of the things that might cause that procrastination is, there's a variety of causes, but perhaps one of them is the prone to perfectionism, is that we want it to be perfect before we start something, before we put something into action. But I think instead of focusing on that perfection, focus on making progress.
No, that's so true. I think that's a problem of a lot of students, and sometimes you just see yourself, oh, I'm already gonna fail that exam, so I'm not even gonna start studying. What's the point?
Yes, where you just wing it.
Exactly. So have you been working with a lot of students?
Yes, so I've worked with all sorts of people from all walks of life, including students. And I remember one of my clients that I think about immediately when I think about working with science students. She worked in the biochemistry arena, and it was so interesting what she did and how she, experiments with like the HIV virus and all of that. And yeah, I think something that she said she really struggled with was that transition from going from university, going from a student to progressing into the real world and in the working life. So that's something that I definitely try to work with, and to really establish what is it that you find interesting, what is your passion, and what is your ultimate driver to do what you do in order to establish what are those next steps.
No, that's true. But do you know, well, can you tell us what were exactly her problems when it comes to the transition?
Yes, totally. So, some of the things that she had trouble with is that she felt kind of stuck in her life. I know that this was true for me when before I started, I felt stuck in my life as to what is it that I wanted to do with my life. And I know that this is true for a lot of students. And I was a student too in my life. And it's like we overthink things and we don't know what the next step is. So we continuously try to upskill ourselves by studying more and more and more. So there was all of this knowledge, but I think this is why I love what you're doing, Science Bridge. You're really bridging that gap and giving people, the guidance and the assistance to take them from where they are right now to where they want to be and equip them with that knowledge. So I think maybe something that was also perhaps holding her back is that there was a lack of knowledge in how do I take the next step. And I think that's where coaches come into play to really establish those things. So I think that was something that was really holding her back. And also the variety of options that were available to her. She didn't really know what was the right thing for her at the time.
No, that's true. And I guess you have to find your own why before you actually gonna take a next step. And that's what holds us back, because we don't know what we don't know. So we don't research that even. And we are only
Yeah.
focusing, as you're saying, on upscaling our own skills. And we end up doing the next degree, but we don't know what we wanted to do actually in the first place.
Yeah, no, that's so true with what you said, because I think what it is that, just like I said, we focus a lot on what do we want the results to be? What do I want to do with my career? Let's focus on, doing this, doing that. But sometimes, and I know this sounds cheesy and I speak about it all the time, and so do you, is coming back to yourself, starting with you. I honestly do believe that it starts with you, to really figure out why. Why do you do what you do every day? Because if that why is not really strong and set in stone, I feel, I know that it changes sometimes, it evolves with you, but if you don't really know what that foundational why is, it can be quite a struggle to really find what you want to do, because you'll always be chasing, for example, say the money instead.
Yes, that's true. It's funny because actually it can relate even to simple things that we do in the lab, like you're constantly chasing good results, but at the end of the day, you might end up with not much because you didn't go back to the reason, what was your first hypothesis, which could have been wrong, and you might have to adjust that one before you do the next experiments. So if you're a scientist and you're watching it, maybe think about your own career as your experiments and your project that you're doing. Maybe that's going to help you with progressing your career.
Yeah, most definitely. And what you just said, that just took me back to when I did biology in school, and we had to, that whole thing of formulating the hypothesis. Now, I'm not a scientist, but, formulating the hypothesis, control variable, and focusing on those results. And it's funny because one day I did think I was going to become a doctor, but I ended up not becoming that.
Not all of us have to do, this whole career parts like being a doctor and the standard things. Sometimes you can be someone else. And it's also fine. And it's also fine to readjust your goals, the ones that you
Right.
were thinking that you want to have, and take a step back and be like, that's not for me. I'll just reevaluate.
Exactly, exactly. Because those are, as you're changing as a person and as you're evolving, so do those goals change. And so it's always important to come back. Remember, come back to yourself, to ask yourself, is this what I still want to do? And always evaluate that.
No, that's so true. So if that's what you're saying, it's always coming back to yourself. So how do you start your coaching with the client?
Yes. Thank you for that question. So, I just recently formulated, well, not recently, but a couple of months ago, I formulated my own coaching process, and it's called the Rise to Lead Coaching Program. And it's formulated around a circular orbit that I like to call the success orbit. And it's a continuous process that's always changing as we go along. But one of the beginning steps, and that I always start with my clients, is coming back down to that why, establishing what it is that motivates you on a day-to-day basis. What are those obstacles that you're going through right now? And I'm not only speaking about external obstacles, I'm speaking about those internal obstacles, because of course, if you want to get to that finish line, like, you got to start with overcoming those obstacles, whether they be external, whether they be internal. So a lot of it is focused on that, and then we move it on to the action steps of collaborating with me to come up with different strategies and goals and milestones in order to reach those goals. So it works like that, and then always coming back. We adjust the roadmap. We're like, okay, so you take an action on this. Let's come back, reel it in a little bit. What worked and what didn't work? So it's like a continuous process. But what's so wonderful is that there is no set, like, exact way that I go about it. Every client is different. So I like to say that my programs are very bespoke. Depending on who you are, I'll create like a workbook and a whole program for that particular day so we can go through it.
No, that sounds like you're very, very prepared and you have your own structure of doing things. So, and it's very centralized around what that person really needs in that very
Right.
moment.
Yes.
No, that's true. So you've been working with students and also with business people, business representatives. How is that different?
Yes. Yeah, so I've been working with both, and one of my passions is actually business. I studied a Bachelor of Commerce in Human Resources back in university a couple of years ago, and something that I also developed to really like is entrepreneurship. And it's funny how I discovered that is because I went through network marketing. Now, a lot of people know network marketing with Herbalife, Amway, Avon, direct selling. That's how it started. But I always wanted to start like my own business to achieve that freedom that I've always wanted. And I think when you're working with entrepreneurs, it's definitely a roller coaster. The whole thing of being an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur myself. And there's actually a book called The Entrepreneur Roller Coaster. And the thing I feel like that differentiates, being an entrepreneur from having a job is that, of course, we all know that being an entrepreneur is very risky. It's very risky. You don't really know what the next step might be, but you're willing to try, and it's always changing. You're continuously learning. And I always like to say that everything is teachable or everything is figure outable. So even if you don't know the answer right now, I'm sure that you'll definitely figure out if you really have the motivation within you. But I think when I'm working with business people, whether it be that they own their own business representatives, they have a business, but they want to take it to the next level, is really trying to focus on a whole bunch of things, like focusing on following that passion. Because if you're chasing the money, that's not going to get you really far, because when things go bad, which they will, what is it that's going to keep you grounded, right? So taking note of that, and also taking note of, the steps that you need to take, the business strategies that you need to do, and also most importantly, your mindset. Oh my goodness, you need to cultivate a really strong, would I say, bulletproof mindset in order to really overcome all those unpredictable things that are going to happen along your entrepreneur journey. But it's beautiful, though, the process. I always like to say that as an entrepreneur, enjoy the process. And even if you are someone that does not want to be an entrepreneur, if you hope to, pursue a 9 to 5, always remember to enjoy the process with the ups and the downs, just like in a relationship.
Yes, well, I mean, we are spending so much time at work or during studies that basically it is our second life, and it is kind of like a relationship in a way, whether it's your boss
Yes.
or just basically your pipette. If you're a scientist, you are in some kind of a relationship, so you need to cultivate
Yeah.
that. And that's why I think that the coaching helps with the whole communication aspect that I know that coaches are also helping with when it comes to different levels of communication, whether it's your peers, your boss, or your other students that you're working with.
Yes, that's so true. Communication is truly everything. And I know that, you and I working together within Toastmasters, we definitely understand the whole thing of communication. And this is something that I shared yesterday on an Instagram video. And it's something that my mom taught me. And I think it relates very closely to communication, is the fact of there's two principles or two rules. There's the golden rule and the platinum rule. And the golden rule is, we all grew up with it, is treat people the way that you want to be treated. Now, we know that that's something that we've all grown up with. But she said, no, Yumna, that's not the way to go. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, we've all grown up with this. I don't know any different. She's like, no, you need to follow the platinum rule. And the platinum rule is treat people the way that they want to be treated. And of course, I was like, wow, oh my goodness. Because of course, the way that you like to communicate is different than the way I like to communicate. What you find exciting is different from the way that what I find exciting. What motivates you is something different from me. So really meeting people where they're at. And I think emotional intelligence really comes into play, especially when you're transitioning from university to the working world. Something that a lot of employers are looking for is the ability to be able to work in teams, and communication is at the forefront of that. Learning how to collaborate, learning how to come up with amazing ideas. And, having that degree is great. It gets your foot in the door, but it doesn't guarantee you a job. The thing that guarantees you a job is knowing how it is that you can interact with people, that emotional intelligence. But it first starts with you understanding your own emotions, becoming self-aware of your own emotions, and how is it that you can master your mind. So mastering your internal environment in order to master the external environment.
No, that's exactly the Daniel Goleman rules of emotional intelligence. And I think it's very, very applicable to scientists, because we are often very not self-focused, but I would say more introverts, and we don't really communicate well. And that's where we are kind of cutting our own branch, because if we are not communicating well, it can lead to burnout, feeling lonely, frustrations. So that's something that we definitely need to learn and master.
That's so true, because I know I was an introvert. A lot of people don't believe me when I say this, but I couldn't order pizza on the phone. I had to give the phone to my sister in order for her to order pizza on the phone because I was extremely introverted growing up for most of my life. But that I think was the one of the biggest motivators in order for me to help other people also come out of their shell is because I've gone through it too and I learned how to overcome it. So it's like me now giving back to people to teach them how to do the same.
No, that sounds great. So tell us where people can actually find you.
Oh, on social media and stuff?
Yes, on social media, or do you have your own website?
Yes. So my website is www.ohyesitsyumi.com. And you can also find me on Facebook at not ohyesitsyumi.com, oh yes it's Yumi.
Yeah.
And then on Instagram, it's Yumi Universe. So the handle is at Yumi Universe. And then on YouTube, it's Oh Yes It's Yumi. On LinkedIn, it's my full name, Yumna Aysen. That's where you can find me.
Okay, great. So I'm going to include all those links below this video so everybody can find you. And I would like to thank you so much for this interview and ask you for the last piece of advice that you would give to our audience.
Oh, thank you so much, Martina, for this interview. I absolutely enjoyed it thoroughly. I would say, like, if I could give a piece of advice to people, would be, I think, wow, I could write essays about this, but I think one of them is I want to go back to the whole thing of everything is figure outable. And especially because I think I'm speaking to a lot of science students right now, I think this is very true for you too, is the fact that right now, sometimes you might be in a transition phase where you don't really know where the next step is, no matter what part of your life you're in. But if you're ever feeling stuck in life or you want to know what the next step is, or you're, feeling a little bit indecisive, always come back to that motto of everything is figure outable. Because, just like if there's a strong why, there's a strong will to do something, you'll always find a way. Just like if you're a parent and you need to get your daughter to hospital or something and you're busy at work in an important meeting, you're going to find a way. So it's really figuring out and doing your research. And you guys are natural at this. Natural research is so always realizing that no matter what it is, everything is figure outable. And something else that I'd like to say is, something that prevents us from starting is that we feel like we need to have everything perfected. It doesn't have to be that way. I just say, like Nike, just do it. You will learn along the way how to do it. You don't need to overcomplicate the process. Just simplify it and enjoy the journey of you finding these answers.
Well, on that note, I know that actually perfectionism is one of the things that feeds the procrastination. So remember, don't
Yes.
feel like you need to be perfect and everything will work out. Everything is figure outable. Thank you so much, Yumi.
Thank you so much, Martina.